Hey there, James here from Rimo3, and in this video I am going to take you through our capability to create phased application deployments with our Intune extension. So first of all, one of the challenges here that we're looking at is, again, as with the bulk application assignments that I showed in the previous video, where you can only really interact with one application at a time in Intune, the other challenge is how you can do that as a phased approach, like use this concept of deployment rings for applications. So there's like a little bit of that capability in Intune today. So for example, we can use these things like availability to almost create these sort of this, I suppose, the illusion of a of deployment rings, but to be honest, it's not particularly intuitive, and there's only this sort of type of trigger of availability and installation deadline. So with the extension that we've built, we can be a little bit more overt about it and direct. So the way to do it is I bring up my applications, my Intune applications, and let's go back to Firefox that I was targeting earlier. And again, we can create phased deployments for not just one but multiple applications. So for example, we could have Firefox, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe I've got a Notepad++ in here somewhere. Yep. So let's go for this one. And so we've got two apps selected, and we click on new phase deployment. See here, okay, so we've got our apps, we've got Firefox, and we've got Notepad++. And so this is our phase deployment UI, where we can start building out our phases. And in the future, I think we'd like to create this concept of sort of phase templates that you can build and add some automation around that. And if you're watching this and you agree with that, like, head over to our feedback portal and upvote, or add your own other suggestion at any time. But anyway, so to get started, let's create a phase. So let's create our first phase. So I'm just going to use this concept of like a, I don't know, let's say basic three-phased deployment. So we'll have phase one, just call it a really intuitive name. And this one will just, let's talk about triggers quickly actually. So we've got 3 trigger types currently in our release version. We've got this concept of immediate, which is fairly self-explanatory. It's going to happen immediately. Then we can schedule something, and then there's a manual trigger as well. And what we mean by manual is it's, you have to go in and hit the green button to start that phase. And actually, let's do that as our first one. So we'll have our first phase as like a manual. So we're gonna tee this up ready to go. So let's create that phase. Okay, so now we want to select the security groups, and I've pre-created some here, if I recall. Actually, I think I called it Canary. So we've got our Canary group, and again, you can select multiple security groups. I'll do that in one of the next phases. So let's hit next, and so we can adjust these settings. So for example, we may want it to be available for our Canary folks or required. Again, we can use filters if we've created filters, and all the other settings that are available in Intune today. So when we create this, we didn't want to have you lose any functionality. We wanted to give you more functionality without losing any of the inherent Intune functionality. So got my group, I'm not going to change any settings. Hit next. Here's a quick recap of everything I've set, and save phase. Okay, so now we've got phase one done, and we can do a couple of things here. We can save some time and duplicate that phase, or we can edit it, or we could delete it and start again. But let's create a new phase. So this one is called phase 2. and we will have this one start as a scheduled phase. So let's start this, I don't know, in about 20 days time of recording, and let's trigger that phase. So this phase is going to start at that time, and we can call this our pilot group. Hit next, and again we can make any changes here. I'm not going to do that. Hit save. Okay, so we've got two phases now. So we've got a first phase, and then we've got our second phase. So let's create our final phase, and we'll keep this one as immediate and call it final phase. And so this is going to happen immediately after the second phase has completed, and we will just add a bunch of groups in here. So again, we can change these settings individually. So maybe hit save. Maybe for operations and retail, I'll make it available. And then for finance, they will be forced to have these. Hit next. And then we've got a reminder of all of our settings here before we hit save. So we can see we've got the assignment mode's done. Hit save. And then we've got our final phase. Yeah. And that's it. When we're ready, hit deploy. There we go. That's created the phases ready to go. So we've got the phase 1, we've got a manual trigger type, we've got a scheduled trigger type for phase 2, which will happen, and then the final phase will be run automatically when all previous phases have finished. So how I do this normally, I normally have an immediate trigger type for the first phase, and then I'll have the final sort of broad phase as a manual trigger type. So once I'm comfortable as an admin, I will just click on start. But hey, you can do whatever you like. You can have them all scheduled if you want. You can have many phases, up to you. So let's just start this off. Hit start, and that's now gonna run that. And whilst that's doing that, let me just head back to the deployment list here. And again, this is where you can look at all of your previous phased deployments or other phased deployments and see any that are sort of waiting for action. So this one's still waiting for the scheduled phase, and then we've got that final manual phase. And if I go back to the one we created, that has now done the first phase, so it's assigned those two apps to the Canary group, and then it's just going to sit here and wait for the 30th of June, and it will start phase 2, and that is it. We can also, like, if we jump to one of these apps in Intune real quick, let's just minimize this and go to Firefox, then look at the package details page, expand it back out. We can see that this phase deployment that we've just created has appeared in the past deployments for this selected app, and again that can take us straight to the phase deployment page here for this application. We can jump back here, and the other thing I wanted to show you is it's also appeared in my home dashboard as well. So we've got our upcoming deployment. It's now in this list, which is sort of this one here, I reckon, 30th of June. Yep, it's the one we just triggered, and also we've got it sitting up here, which is needing attention because that's going to be triggering soon. And that is it. That's phase deployments. Hope you like it. Certainly enjoyed making it, and it's definitely value add for Intune. Thank you. Bye.